Y2K, less than a week away before all the computers crash. But Tommaso explores what else will happen come Y2K. It's all this Sunday on Tommaso for December 26th, 1999.
Welcome to Tommaso. In this first segment, Tommaso will interview Grandma.
It's like about your life. What number of child were you in the family, in your family?
What number, what?
Like,
Child.
What not, like,
What number? 12.
You said 12 kids in your family?
10.
Yeah.
Number 10.
you're the last one. You're the youngest.
I'm the youngest.
You're the youngest of 10. Okay.
Youngest of 10.
What did your father do for, like, a living?
He was killed in the mill before I was a year old. About 6 months old, he got killed in the mill. He worked in the alligator net, and a crane fell on him and threw him into a pit.
What did he do at Allegheny 11? Do you know?
Worked up in the cranes.
Cranes?
What did your mom do? Did she, like, have any jobs, or did she just take
I
care?
hate them.
No, jobs.
Did your mom?
Did I have jobs?
No, did your mom?
Your mother.
Or did she just take care of you?
No, she worked for the priest and cleaned the church and school every weekend.
Did she like that? Yeah.
She didn't have a choice.
After your dad died, huh? She worked for the priest.
And she used to grow big gardens, you know.
What were your brothers and sisters like?
What were they like?
Yeah, do you remember them?
Sure, I know all of them.
Do you remember all? You have the names, huh?
Yeah, you know their names?
Do you remember?
Joe, John. I want to give you the names, see in order. Joe was the oldest, I think, and then John. Wait till Mike comes and can help.
No, that's okay. No, whatever you remember, that's okay.
Joe and John.
I remember some of them. It was, well, I'm going to take you out of order, but
Ann was the oldest daughter.
Okay.
Ann, Joe, John, Seal, Cecilia,
Yeah.
Rose,
Rose, yeah.
Mary,
Mary, I remember Mary, yeah.
Frank, Andy,
Andy,
Martha.
Martha, that's 10.
That's it
You
then.
get them all, yeah. Do you remember any of them? What did I get? Remember anything about any of them or anything? Is that what you're asking? Do you remember any of them, or you can ask her?
Sure.
Or anything about them? I mean, you said it. That's all right.
Being the youngest, there's probably a lot of things I forgot. But how shall I say what I remember? As soon as they got old enough, they had to get jobs to support the family. I do remember that. I can tell Father Henny that joke. It's not a joke, but a man came in our yard and wanted to know if he could have some grape leaves. He's making jelly. And grape leaves makes it good, he said. Could he have some? And my mother said, sure. And she gave him a little ladder. And he got up and he took a little bit of grape leaves. He got back down and he said, what do I owe you? She said, nothing. He said, then maybe I could have a few. I thought that was a cute.
Maybe I can have a few more.
If I can tell Mother Henny that one, he'd probably get a kick out of
That's a
it.
good one. Write that one down. Sure. More questions there?
Anything you get for nothing.
What else you got?
Where'd you go to, like, grade school?
Where did I go to grade school?
Yeah.
St. Joseph's. I went through St. Joseph's my whole lifetime.
Did you like it there?
Yes. All through high school.
What did you do when you were young, like every day? Like, what was your routine every day? Did you have something you'd always do?
I know as soon as I was old enough, I got a job in Farmington for 10 cents an hour.
10 cents an hour.
And I used to buy an ice cream cone and walk home instead of taking a bus.
Were you poor or wealthy?
No, we weren't wealthy.
Not wealthy, yeah.
But we never weren't want or need, you know.
Yeah.
And my mother, when my father was killed, all the mill gave her was $1,000.
$1,000.
Then I found out later she had the same attorney the mill had, which was awfully dumb.
Yeah.
Why wasn't somebody smart enough to tell her, get yourself an attorney?
Same attorney the mill
They
had.
both had the same one, and they got away with $1,000, and she had 10 kids to raise.
Isn't that something?
That's terrible.
Not right. Not right.
You wouldn't get away with that today.
No.
You'd be paying until those kids got a certain age.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sure you would.
What's your earliest memory? How far back can you remember?
I remember, I think the day my father was killed, because I was sitting on my mother's knee, and he was leaving for work, and he came from Germany, and he didn't speak good English, and he kept trying to tell me goodbye, you know, but he didn't say it like
And
that.
how old were you?
Maybe 6 months, if I was little.
Could you remember that?
Or did they people tell you?
And then he said, oh, you don't call me left for work. I means dumb man. And I couldn't talk well enough to tell him. He was saying goodbye to me, and I was too young to know. But I remember that well.
Do you remember what was like happening around in the world when you were born? Like what events?
What's the one to know?
What was happening when you were young, when you were born?
Like in the war.
What was happening in the world? Was anything going on?
In the world.
Yeah.
It was hard making a living. My mother had an outside bakery, and she baked all her bread. She planted all her vegetables in the garden, and we didn't have a lot of money to be going out and buying. It was like Red Letter Day if you ever got an ice cream cone.
Ice cream cone was a big one, huh?
Once in a while. I used to watch her when we were ready to take a walk, and I'd be anxious to see if she's bringing her purse. It's silly, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I blame you. For the cone.
But I was the youngest, so the older ones could probably tell you a lot more than I can.
Oh, sure.
Did you remember any of your friends when you were younger? Do you remember any of your when you were younger? Do you
Yeah.
remember your friends?
Mary Jessie lived on the same street we did, and we always went together. And I had a lot of friends from school. Yeah.
Do you have any like goals?
I want to tell you something. I didn't go like 8 years and 4 years, which would be 8 for grade school. How many grade school years do you do?
8.
And 4 for high school. We started with kindergarten. So I went, instead of 8, I went 9, and I never missed a day.
Never.
How long?
That is a truth
Never.
through my whole life.
13 years.
Even my sister was getting married one day, and I insisted on going to school.
Is that right? Your sister was getting married? Wow.
I didn't want to miss because I
Yeah.
never
You
missed.
never missed a day.
And my mother made me a real pretty velvet dress. I'll never forget it. It was so pretty.
What?
I wore it to school
Why'd she bring you that for? Because she was getting
for the
married?
wedding.
Oh,
But I didn't go to the wedding. I went to school.
You went to school? I didn't know that one.
And I could see the school from where I lived. It was just, you know, where the church is, we lived behind it.
Yeah, right behind St. Joe's.
And the school was just on down. There was a church, the rectory, and the school. We lived behind the church.
Behind the church,
So
yeah.
we were close to the school.
Yeah.
And the nuns that come in, and I was a wee little tot, you know, before I started. And they'd use their big hand and put it on my face. It just scared the heck. Now, if you could tell them, what's that light over there?
That's that camera. It's like a video camera he has.
Might not have a
Tommy's.
No,
Tommaso bought that.
sure, yeah.
Tommaso bought that with him.
I like to tell them more stuff, but it's all crazy. We didn't have days like you kids have today, real fancy.
Yeah, simple, huh?
Were you,
Our sports were just roller skating. We often went out on the sidewalk roller skating.
were you good at like any sports?
I played basketball in high school.
Were you like one of the better ones out on your team?
Yeah, I was always forward doing the shooting. In those days, only 2 forwards could shoot. The other kids weren't allowed to shoot. They don't play that way anymore. They're all over the floor. But our basketball court was in 3 sections. You know, the shooters, and in the middle was the side center one. And then the shooters were the other people.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have any favorite songs when you were little?
Have any what?
Favorite song? Did you ever listen to
Favorite songs?
Yeah.
We used to sing some my mother really did. They were bold, you know.
All right.
And I forget how they went. But she never allowed us to sing them out on the front porch.
All right. Can't remember them, huh?
I'm trying something like do what your mother said. Don't do what your mother says. You know, it's a whole song, something like that.
Yeah.
My mother did. That's the thing. Everybody sang it.
Did you have any chores to do around the house?
Any what, chores?
Chores.
Sure. We always had chores. We took a week at a time. You know, you'd maybe wash dishes the first week, and the next week you would dry the dishes and somebody else washed, and someone had to clean up the porches and clean up the rooms, for we always took turns on chores.
Some turns, huh?
What has been your greatest like accomplishment? What was the like best thing you ever did?
But
What was the best thing you ever did?
the best thing I ever did. What do you mean by best?
Like
We had chickens. I used to feed the chickens.
like
I didn't like that.
your greatest accomplishment, but like
But I called it an accomplishment,
best achievement you made.
best achievement. I always got real good grades at school. Always. You had to get that or it was too bad. My mother homemade all my clothes. I felt pretty well dressed.
It's good.
How did you meet Grandpa?
How did
How did you meet Grandpa?
he came from Germany, the war was about to begin, and somehow he managed to get on the boat, and he came over. she didn't know him before that.
He's talking about.
Yeah.
He's talking about Dad. He's talking about.
How'd I meet Dad?
Yeah.
Oh, I belonged to a club in Trenton, Sacred Heart Church, and he belonged there too. So we just started dating, and next thing you know, we got married. But I was 24 before I got married. I didn't get married young.
Mm-hmm. Did you prepare for your wedding like long?
You know.
Did you take a long time to prepare? Was it a big reception? Was it a big wedding or was it small?
Yeah, it was. You wouldn't today call it a big wedding, but in that day it was big. But we had the dinner at our house, and the guys all played cards in the backyard. And at night, we threw hot pennies to the kids out on the street. That was a system that they used to do. Yeah. Kids scrambled all over the street to get the pennies.
What do you mean hot pennies? That's just the term.
You heated them before you threw them.
Why did you heat them? What was the reason?
Oh, it was kind of something funny. They'd try to pick them up and pick them up.
Because they were too hot?
But everybody did that at a wedding.
Do you have any stories about your children? Any funny stories?
How did I learn stories?
No, about your children. Do you have any stories about your children?
What's he mean?
Any stories about us, about the kids, about us kids?
Oh, yeah, lots of stories.
Whole bunch of
I
them.
bet your dad can tell them.
Well, there's some, sure.
Many times the boys would sneak down the river. They weren't allowed to go in the river to swim.
I
Right.
think I didn't do that, but I
You
know they
didn't,
did.
but some of the
Sure, they
boys
couldn't do
did.
it. Yeah.
And what else did they do?
All kinds of stuff. Huh?
And you had a paper route.
What's
They
that?
had to pass their papers and collect on collecting day.
Mhm.
And remember, two of you were doing it. And the second one came to the same lady's door and knocked to get the money, and she said, "Your brother was just here."
Mhm.
Don't you remember that?
Tommy used to do that.
Tommy.
When he was
Tommy and Mike.
When Tommy was going out on a date, he needed the money for a date, and he'd just go tear one out, collect some money, go out on a date, and then you didn't even
That's
pay any
right.
attention to whose stub he gave. You had no
They
idea.
always said Tommy made the balls and Mike threw them.
Uh-huh.
I was mad because Kathy didn't go to Catholic school. She went up to Highlands.
Uh-huh.
But he'd meet her coming down
Uh-huh.
from the hill, you know.
Uh-huh.
But she was one of the nicest persons you could ever find. She was a good Catholic in the end.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Was it hard to raise 12 children?
I didn't find it too difficult. Then when they started going away to school, that was tough because I had to do a big laundry. And I ironed everything with an iron. It wasn't like it is today.
Mhm.
They were pretty hard days. Get them all packed up to leave.
Mhm.
And they'd go away to school. Did you go away to school?
Sure.
Sure.
Mhm. Everybody did, yeah. Mhm.
Almost all of them went away to school. Like today, you go to college. Were they colleges?
Mhm. Yeah, they were colleges, yeah.
I thought so.
Mhm.
What was my dad like as a kid?
It was hard to see them leave. I always sat out in the back porch and the tears would roll. You hate to part with them no matter how bad they've been.
What was my dad like when he was a kid?
He was one of the better ones.
Oh, she's saying because I'm here, huh?
No, it's true. You didn't cause much trouble.
Not too much trouble.
Did you ever take any vacations?
Take any
Vacations.
vacations.
Yeah.
Did we? Very few.
Very few, huh?
We didn't get a car till Betty was the first one. She got a job,
Mhm.
and then she bought a car. after that, we started getting out a little bit. Before that,
Didn't have a car. Uh-huh.
we didn't have a car until, say, one of the oldest ones got married. No, didn't get married. She worked for Belltel, and she bought a car. And then we did get, I remember going places after that.
Mm-hmm. Before that, you never had a car? Mm. 2 months
What kinds of food would you cook for every
What kind of
food?
I can tell you that one.
Did you cook? Mm-hmm.
I made bread baked in the outside oven.
Mm-hmm.
And for breakfast and lunch, my mother made a big thing of apple butter out in the backyard. You stood with a long handle and stirred it all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Even the neighbors would come and help us stir.
Wow.
Breakfast we had apple bread and coffee,
Mm-hmm.
apple butter bread.
Mm-hmm. Did you help cook that
For
too?
lunch,
Mm-hmm.
I knew that was going to be on the table.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I was growing up. We had that for lunch. Then for evening, we had a decent meal. You know, your meat and potatoes and vegetables. The 2 meals were the same. You never expected anything else. Apple butter bread, coffee.
That was most of your mother, but wasn't it?
Yeah.
What about you? What did you used to
What
make?
did you cook?
What did you cook for us when we were little?
Oh, when I cooked for you kids.
Yeah.
Oh, we went more with cereal and stuff like that. That's a different,
Mm-hmm.
it's all different then.
Mm-hmm.
But that was when my mother cooked for the family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have him on.
What else did you make besides cereal?
For breakfast,
For
eggs.
for dinner, eggs and like for dinner, what'd you make for dinner?
And for dinner, nothing much, because you came home from school and ate and had to run right back. But for dinner in the evening, I always cooked
Yeah, you made yeah.
meat and potatoes and vegetables.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Did you have any worries?
Did you have any worries? Would you expect me not to, having 10 kids running? No, it was in those days, the kids weren't so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Once in a while, you kind of worry
Oh yeah.
where you are, where they are, or what's going on.
Any more questions?
What church were you married at?
St. Joe's, where I was born and raised, baptized, first communion and wedding all in the same church.
Do you remember what I was like when I was little?
Tommaso. You remember Tommaso when he was little?
I remember all your kids being babies, you know,
It's hard to
but I
distinguish.
didn't get to see that much of them.
No, not too much. Huh?
Too far away.
Yeah.
I was wishing they'd live around here. You went too far away.
Mm-hmm.
Who had the most influence on your life?
On my life, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He ran that, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't mean,
Mm-hmm.
but if he said something, he meant it.
Mm-hmm. I mean by influence, that's what you mean by influence, huh? Influence,
Mhm.
okay.
What?
He said influence, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He had influence over the whole family.
Okay.
But he died, how old was Dad when he died?
68.
68.
Yeah.
That was really sad.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right at Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember going,
Mm-hmm.
seeing the snow all through the trees.
Mm-hmm.
Went out to the cemetery, it was bad weather.
Mm-hmm.
How did you celebrate the holidays?
I think we celebrated holidays, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
In a quiet little way, of course.
Oh, yeah, you can win them.
There is Mike.
He's almost done. He's asking, Tomas asking questions for school. We'll get the lights lined up there. You finish your questions up at Tomas.
Alright.
What kind of school?
And he has to give a report.
Oh, house and
Like
ground?
that
Yeah.
is the kind of lights that we
Oh,
want.
yeah, absolutely.
It's nice, yeah. One big set.
Well, you
Big
still
set.
got a lot of hunting to do. We don't have for
Yeah, we'll
these
find it.
little trees.
Fine, does,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a muscle. Let's get on the next one.
Finish your questions there and then
Um,
we'll get help around.
He's one of those kids,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe he
Yeah,
can
go
give you
ahead.
some
That's the
answers.
question to us.
What was your happiest memory?
Happiest memory.
The time you fell and broke your leg.
See that?
The time I stuffed you in basketball.
I have a lot of happy days with the kids.
Let's try and put the lights on first. These lights on, girls?
Okay.
You can finish asking the questions to us. We'll put these up, these up.
Yeah.
Got more questions, almost done.
We got a lot over there too, so this ain't enough. I
Mike,
wanna see if he's a blinkers or regular. The other
Mike,
ones are
you
not-
can't buy those for that.
Sick, really.
These are tiny.
Well, you have extras in the pack here, so.
And we had lights for those trees,
Yeah.
loads of them.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get little ones?
Heck, yeah.
I didn't know you could buy them.
Yeah. What's that? What little one? What are you talking about?
These little two green trees.
No, I didn't get them. We'll find them.
I hope so.
Here we go. Okay, yes.
Now, what more do you have to know?
What was your happiest memory?
Probably when the children were
When your
born.
dad got married, got him out of the house.
Hmm?
When Ricky got married, he got rid of him.
What are you saying?
That's when Ricky got married. That's when you got rid of him.
No, I hated to part with every one of the kids.
No, you did. Oh,
I used to sit in the back porch and cry. I didn't want to part with anybody. Now the girls will tell you, you cried, you didn't want to part with the boys, but you didn't care when the girls got married. That's the argument they'd give you, but it's
well,
not
they
true.
probably just kind of like how you did in Montana. Oh, there's a band around.
What was your proudest memory? What were you most proud of?
Proudest moment.
I would make
Wedding
sure
day.
I'm not blinkers. The other one are not blinkers. He said, it can be if you want them. No, you can turn them into.
Do you have any
What's that?
advice for people today that you would give people
Yeah,
today?
plug it in for us. See
People
if they're all blinkers.
What you
Now, what kind of advice would you give to people today?
people today.
Maybe we can plug it in that.
Stay sober. Don't drink.
Oh, you never plug it there.
And watch your companionship. Be careful who you go with. And always remember the 10 commandments. Love God. Be wrong. That's my advice.
What are your hopes for the future?
On what?
Hopes for the future.
A happy death, because I'm already 87. What more can I hope for?
Another question.
Who do you admire most?
Mary Ann.
I was real proud of her. She went away to be.
Yeah.
She was my first born. But you can say when you have that many children that you're most proud of one.
Right, just say Mary Ann, and you can, Tommy can send a copy of that paper to Mary Ann. Or she'd be happy. There you go.
They look pretty, don't they? We lost all our lives for the tree, all of them for those little trees.
Yeah.
Lost all of them. Can't find them.
We'll find them. Mother's not writing anything.
What advice would you give to young people today?
Don't get old. Don't get old. Right on?
Well, that's kind of silly advice because you have to get old.
Don't use Charmin because it's clogged up the commodes.
No teeth, don't up there.
Charmin don't break down too well in the sewer system.
No, I won't say don't drink, for one thing. You can ask Denny's boy.
Don't drink.
He's
Don't
one, yeah.
drink alcohol. Don't smoke drugs, and don't use Charmin.
Don't drink, don't use drugs. Obey the commandments. Love God.
Especially the top 10.
Would you like to change anything in your life? If you could change,
If I quit, I try to be a better person than I was before. I don't know if that satisfies you, but when you get older and you think over the past, you think, well, I could have been a better person.
Do you think it would be hard to raise 12 children today? For someone
Yeah,
to
I don't
think so?
Okay, another question.
Yeah, but you're such an
Is the camera working too?
Yeah.
Is it on camera? No. You know, tape recorder, is there?
It isn't.
Sure, there's look at camera on you.
You need to grab my glasses up on
That's
my head.
okay. Sure, he's got a camera on you, Paul.
He pulled that one on me. Let's start over again.
There might be a tape recorder in there too.
What's the most important thing you taught your children?
I think to be obedient.
He's not
And to
writing.
love God first.
He's not writing things down, Paul.
Love God and be careful of your companionship.
No, you just tie it. And then bang it like that.
Don't drink liquor. Don't take drugs. That's the whole works. Then you're okay.
What are your favorite things to do now?
My favorite
Yes,
is
do now.
I would love to work like I used to, but my legs won't let me. Favorite things to do. I like to play games with the family, like bingo, cards. Yeah, I like doing that.
Did you have any customs?
Do I have one?
Do you have any customs? Do you have any traditions?
We do like all the time.
Uh-huh.
Well, you change with the times.
Mhm.
Things almost have to turn you around a little.
What advice did your parents and friends give you?
What's that?
I can't say parents, my father died when I was only 6 months old. My mother was always concerned about companionship with others and schoolwork.
We'll get them all on that.
That's funny.
Did your friends give you any? Advice?
My friends,
I do it the way around. Which is okay because you can see through that.
Yeah, I thought
no, I'd like to turn that upside down and ask him some better ones.